Peace, this is Jarrell with Climb Like Consciousness. It is the January World News Update today, right? Ladies and gentlemen, let's get into it, all right? So I want to make some bold predictions for like the next year. The next year, at least, 1 year in advance. Everybody's doing their 2025 New Year predictions. I've been doing these news updates here for about like 3 months, since like October now. And I just want to throw these things out there because this is what I think is going to happen. Okay? The Palestine war is going to end immediately after Trump gets elected. The Ukraine war is going to end eventually within a couple months. The IRS is going to get abolished. Those are the three things. Those are the three main things that I think is going to happen. Only because I know the current administration very well, because I watched everything they did the past 4 years that they were in there, 2017 to 2020. And, it was a very proactive, progressive, positive government administration. I didn't listen to anything the news said because they were just lying. They were lying for 4 years straight. There was no Russia collusion. There's no tax evasion. There's no criminal activity at all, like under any measure at all. It was just a whole bunch of lies with no evidence. And they continue to push that and brainwash people into not liking the president we had when he was the best president we had since President Kennedy. Okay. So I just wanted to, start off by saying that those things for what's coming up here on January 20th, which is going to be a huge day for America. So this is part 2 of the video. I'm actually starting off here in the future after January 20th. I started earlier this month, like January 18th or something. I had a couple predictions I made. Some of them ended up coming true. So I like to make these videos because I feel like they are very informative and people need to know what's happening actually in the world. It's a good practice to keep yourself grounded and actually look at what's going on and think for yourself. That's the most important thing. And understanding what's happening play by play, because as things happen, there's always more behind each story development. There's always multiple levels of understanding. There's always history of involvement of different types of specific things happening and the different people involved. My goal for this series is for people to find out who people are in the world and actually be able to discern character of the players right now in the world spotlight. That's what's most important, finding out who people are, looking and using the light in your heart to discern, understand, and identify a person, a character, a quality, a personality of an individual, and how not to, walk around in confusion and think it's the apocalypse. Because it's not the apocalypse, guys. It's just not. Please look at things what's actually happening. There's been things that's been taking place for a long time, and we've been on this trajectory for a while. So when things start happening, it looks like it's shocking. Oh, this has never happened before. Yes, it's good that it's never happened before because these are positive things. These are things that are actually coming to light that have been happening in the darkness. And when we see them and things start to actually change, it can look like a radical shift. All right. So just keep that in mind. Okay. Let's rewind to part 1 of the first part of the video. So the first thing that happened this month was the unfortunate terrorist attack where about 10 people lost their lives in New Orleans. Crazy driver, literally just, driving a car through a crowd of people. And every single time something like this happens, it's obvious what it is. It's an MK Ultra wound up individual to where they are released either from a lab or from an underground military base or from some type of government office that's off-grid, secret somewhere. They're put into a car, and then they're given directives to go drive it through a crowd of people. So that's what happened, and it's just not good. It's not a good way to start off the year to see that type of stuff, and especially in New Orleans, where there's all types of paranormal activity and all types of spirits like roaming around and moving through the territories. It's just like terrible to see that. One of the first things I saw was a lady walking through the street where it happened, and she had a stick of sage and she was clearing and doing prayers and stuff, which was uplifting to see, because nobody deserves that. Nobody deserves to be, hit by a car or affected by a brutal attack like that. And it's not cool. It's not fun to see or be a part of. And it's also a thing that you have to understand what it actually is. Like shooter situations, those things that happen are always some type of MK Ultra wound up individual let loose on the population of people. It's never some type of he was this person who just snapped one day. No, it was actually planned, orchestrated, and an agenda that ran on unsuspecting people. It's things that happen like that, where it's like you have to be smart, you have to be street smart to understand the type of world that you're living in, or else everything's going to confuse you. Everything's going to be confusing. You'll be like, oh, what's happening? It's the apocalypse. It's not the apocalypse. It's not the apocalypse. Just because things happen in unfortunate ways doesn't mean the whole world is going to end. It's just things can happen in a specific time period, and just because they happen in a certain period of time doesn't mean the entire future is done. It's over. Everything's done and over. The entire universe is going to cease to exist. Like, no, please, understand the proportion of that statement. It's like we have help here. We have help. There's a lot of things that are in place for the opposition to concede, because they're already done. They've already been in military tribunals, and most of them are actually dead. What you see now is a lot of people just getting arrested and then getting released again, and then doing exactly what they are forced to do, or else they will be tried for treason. So it's just like the positive military is in control. Things are happening because they're the last ditch efforts for this Satanist death cult to feed off people by staging terrible attacks, yet they'll eventually fade away. So one of the things that happened also was that Kamala Harris certified the new president-elect to be president. And that would have never happened unless she was actually arrested, which is something I got from a source of mine. She was actually picked up and arrested when she was in Hawaii. She was in Hawaii after she lost the election. She went on a hiatus to Hawaii with her husband, and she was there, there, like doing things like berating her husband, blaming Trump for the loss, blaming her husband for the loss, blaming her campaigning team for the loss. And the positive military got to her by switching out her guards and getting her to get into a caravan that was actually positive military. So they flew her to Guantanamo. They forced her to certify the president-elect. Say, hey, if you don't certify the president-elect and you try to do the same thing that Vice President Pence did last go around, you're going to die. We're going to kill you. That's the rules. You can't obstruct an election that's been lawfully won by the president of the United States. You can't do that. So after they detained her, told her the deal, and released her, She certified the results. So these things are happening on a set level of control. Things are actually coming into place, and you're going to see what's going to happen. The golden age of America is actually about to take place. Okay, so the golden age of that's going to set into a chain effect of the golden age of the world, and into ascension we go. That's just what's going to happen. It's ordained prophecy. That's what's going to happen. And we've been waiting for this for 30 plus years. Light workers have been channeling information saying funds are going to be released, mass arrests are going to be happening, prosperity is going to take place. So where the world is going to get a lot freer, it's going to be a lot easier to exist. Poverty is going to be eradicated. You won't have to pay taxes, all this stuff. And all this stuff is actually like taking place. Like, like, oh, what? No tax on Social Security? What? No tax on tips? What? The IRS is going to be kaput? It's going external? It's not going to be some type of weird internal revenue service with a scale, with this weird parasite scale as a logo? What? It's actually, the stuff is actually happening. It's happening from a game show host, celebrity president-elect with orange hair. It's happening. So get your egos in check. Stop hating this person for no reason, and actually look what's actually happening, because he's the best he's the best president we've ever had. I'll say that again, over and over and over. All right, so here was the fires in Los Angeles, which is also very terrible. California is very prone to wildfires, and wildfires happen a lot, and they happen, but they don't happen like this. And as I just spoke, the opposition, they love to take advantage of the public, especially with natural disasters. They'll place a disaster in a place that's prone to happen, for a specific type of event to happen. Hurricanes in Florida, or fires on the Pacific Northwestern coast, or fires in California. This is another play out their playbook with energy-directed weapons, and with Antifa, and with illegal immigrants that they pay to do anything so they can eat food, okay? Because that's what they brought them into the country for, in millions and millions and millions of numbers, to create havoc. So, to start, there's videos everywhere online of people starting fires in California, in Los Angeles, in neighborhoods, in front of gyms, in front of businesses, on the street. It's like, the information is there, and it's not being reported by the main news sources. I wonder why. It's almost like they're controlled by Democrats. It's almost like they're controlled by people who actually are at war with all creation. Okay? So, because flyers can't jump from one city to the next 15 miles away. It just doesn't happen, no matter how strong the wind is. It's just like, oh, there's a fire here. Then there's a fire over here. Then there's a fire over here, and it's huge. It's just like, that doesn't happen. That never happens anywhere in the history of fires. It doesn't happen. I'm sorry. Not anywhere. So it's like, it's almost also like this dude who's been running California wanted this to happen, because there was no infrastructure for water to be in the fire hydrants anywhere. It's like, oh, we have no more water. Like, how the fuck you have no more water in California when there's fires like every year? Like twice a year, there's some type of fire somewhere that either you guys started or somehow maybe happened by dry conditions. How do you have no water? Especially when, and then this guy wants to say, oh, there was no plan for infrastructure to be implemented in the Los Angeles area for water to go into the fire hydrants. That's another lie. Yes, there is. President Trump ordained that in 2021. And there's video proof of him ordaining that to free up the funding for you people to do that for the people of California. And nothing was done. Nothing was done. So California burns as Democrats pay illegal immigrants to start fires everywhere. And these people are lying about it, saying that, oh, this is terrible, and it's like they're bringing up all these cringy plans, like, oh, we're gonna rebuild California. Oh, rebuild it, huh? So you have a plan to rebuild this place after it just fucking burned down a day ago? Like, how the fuck long have you been planning on this happening? How long has this been on your agenda list to pay people to burn down your own city so you can replace it with some type of smart city to control people, to turn it into an actual dystopia? You people are actually sick, like, actually. And they actually took. Then on top of that, they're taking 25 million to go and try to fight Trump. The day before the fires even ended. They're like, I don't know how, but this is Trump's fault somehow. So they literally were questioned by reporters, saying like, "Oh, this is it's odd that you guys are freeing up time and funds to go and fight Trump when the city's burning. Like, what are you guys doing?" And then it's just terrible. It's terrible to see. So it's obvious they started the fires. I hope I wouldn't even have to tell you guys that, but that's actually what's happened. And a lot of people, lost their homes, including celebrities, including poor Paris Hilton. She lost her house, and I was actually saddened by that. I used to be, I used to like follow Paris Hilton until it just got too much to follow. Then I stopped following her. But like, she's a real person like anybody else. Like, she lost her home. Nobody deserves to lose their home. It's awful. And so did Mel Gibson. So did a whole bunch of other actors, a whole bunch of other Hollywood people in the hills, like $20 million homes, $15 million homes, $17 million. A lot of people lost a lot of things that happen, but homes aren't money. Homes are memories. Homes are places where you come home after a long day and you feel comfortable, and all your stuff is there because you feel comfortable and safe there. And it's like, but like, at the end of the day, if human life wasn't lost, then you're okay. You're going to be okay. So also, when stuff like this happens, if there's no human life lost, don't call it the apocalypse just because it looks like it. Hollywood looked terrible. It looked like a wreck, worse than I've ever seen. And the energy was even worse. But like, it's not the apocalypse. It's just a fire. That's it. Fires can get put out eventually. And it was good to see that. It was good to see Mexico flying in with water from the sea that's in huge abundance, that exists, that is connected to California. Also, it was good to see Canada flying in with planes with sea border as well. So that was cool to see. So a lot of this stuff happens because, we have to process it. We have to process that there are very sick people in very high places where they shouldn't be, and they need to be knocked out, and they do not need to be in charge of anything any longer. They should be forced to resign. They should be forced to resign, and they should be given a deal. Say, hey, you resign or go into prison for a long time. That's it. If you resign, you're done. You don't get to have anything. You destroyed a lot of people's livelihoods, and you tried to kill a lot of people in the process. You don't deserve anything. Not here. So I feel like after January 20th, I'm going to have to make a new video, just because so much more is going to happen. There's going to be a ton of new executive orders ordained by President Trump, and it's just like, he's supposed to sign 100 executive orders. The record is like 20. So we signed 100 new things just on that day alone. So a lot of things are going to immediately start to shift. It's just going to be like immediately an entire new country. Another thing that happened was one of the DNC's major fundraisers. This Asian lady, Wendy Lee, former DNC National Finance Committee fundraiser. She used to fundraise for Kamala Harris during the Kamala Harris campaign until she was forced to resign for the obvious corruption and blatant money laundering and illegal money exchange from fundraising, from taxpaying dollar citizen bank accounts directly to the bank accounts of undisclosed corporations and investment firms. So she quit after they saw Kamala Harris just like had $500 million just disappear into thin air. She's like, I pushed very hard and I tried to tell them, guys, where are these funds going? And, she was met with resistance and she quit. So recently she just signed up for President Trump's campaign. So she's over in the Republican side now, and she's about to start crushing it. She's literally going to start raising funds immediately. And it's just comical because the left is like losing their mind over this lady who was like a all-star fundraiser who left and now was raising funds for their opposition, who is a lot more lawful and truthful and positive and actually does what they say they're going to do and doesn't steal money from hardworking citizens. So it's wild to see that. So another thing that happened is that the FBI closed the DEI, which is I forget what it stands for, something ridiculous. Some equal opportunity employer, diversity, equal opportunity, diversity, something. Some diversity agency, has to do with like woke stuff, like mind virus stuff, where they take mentally ill people or mentally challenged people or emotionally victimized people, and they try to put them in positions over people who actually have credentials to actually serve the American public. And they've been doing that for years. And turns out they closed their doors the weekend before Trump's inauguration, which seems to be perfect timing if they actually believed in their mission, which they don't. No, it's just ridiculous. Again, more information and more news development on good old boy Mark Zuckerberg. He indeed has stopped fact-checking on Facebook. So it seems like he's actually all in for, the white hats over here, the good guys, fighting for America, fighting for the world, for world freedom of speech, and, non-agenda lifestyles, non-agenda 21 existence. And Meta is no longer going to include the Snopes-style fact-checking on posts, which hasn't been any facts on those fact-checking descriptions on Facebook ever. It's always been some type of agenda check to say, hey, this is a fact, and this agenda is actually saying that it's not a fact. This is our agenda preordained description that we want you to believe. So Mark Zuckerberg finally stopped doing that, which is good, because he's been forced to work with President Trump and the Republicans. Oh, and then I almost forgot. I don't know how I almost forgot this. The Cybertruck attack. The Cybertruck attack that happened like the first week of January on President Trump's life, which is actually like grossly and disgustingly misinformed and misinterpreted and skewed and twisted by the mainstream media, of course. So it happened in Vegas at Trump Tower. There was an explosion outside the hotel. So what happened was somebody put a car bomb in one of President Trump's vehicles, which happened to be a Cybertruck, and it blew up. Thank God President Trump was not in the vehicle. However, unfortunately, there's one casualty, which was a Green Beret, military active duty member, may he rest in peace, for serving his country and for serving the world. And so after that happened, the mainstream media is like, oh, well, look at this. Look at this Green Beret's ID. Look how it miraculously survived the explosion. And look, it was him. He blew himself up. It was this guy. He tried it. He tried to kill President Trump as a suicide bomb attempt. And it's just so grossly and disgustingly lied about. It's like MSNBC, just broad day, just trying to cover their tracks of trying to serve their puppet masters who are trying to assassinate the most powerful man in the world, which is not going to happen. My take on this is that MSNBC really needs to shut the fuck up before they actually get bought. I think they're going to get bought because it's beginning to be a dangerous situation when a news source that's worldwide like that and supposed to be credible can lie about anything, especially about a attempted assassination. You can't do that. You can't fucking do that. Nobody should have the audacity to try to even think about doing that. And it's and they're blatantly doing it. So it's been a rumor that it's been in the works that Elon Musk is thinking about buying MSNBC, which he should. He should turn it into MSNBCX or MXNBC or something. So that would be awesome. And we wouldn't have to deal with the mainstream media. All we need is one. All we need is one of the 5 major media companies to just go under and be forced to sell under federal law, federal ordained law, on fire sale, and get bought by and owned now legally by the positive military so they can actually inform the public about everything that happens. Boom, 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 boom. Here's what happened today. Boom, 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 boom. Here's the agenda of the government today. Boom, 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 boom. Here's what the Democrats tried to obstruct and lie to you about. Boom, 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 boom. It's all this, that's all that people need now. That's the last piece. That's the last piece. That's why we're still in this predicament to where we're looking at California burning to hell and, trucks blowing up, people getting ran over in New Year's Eve celebrations, war still going on because there's still a huge corporate conglomerate media machine that thrives off sickness and lies in distortion and destruction and profits off war and division of people being misinformed and miseducated. And we're tired of it. I'm tired of it for sure. So I'm going to add that to my next prediction. MSNBC is going to get bought. That's what I think. If not MSNBC, then one of the major media channels, whether it's Fox News, may get bought or something may happen, or to where the ownership changes. Either, George Soros dies or fucking whoever owns it is forced to give it up to where anything can be broadcasted to the American people and turns into a Fox News, except it's C-SPAN, except it's like Doge. You're watching Doge, everything that's happening in the house, immediately, here's what we did today. Here's what's happening. Here's the spending we cut. Here's the war lobbying. Here's the lobbyists. Here's the people who voted against stopping the war. Here's the people who voted to actually stop the war. You're going to, I feel like that's what should happen. And I also feel like that's where we're going. Eventually, one of these news centers is going to get bought out, and then we're going to easily be able to see all the news that happens in real time. We're not going to have to run to X. We're not going to have to run to the internet or our phones to scroll through all the information. It'll be, front page like Scott Goulet. If you ever watch that YouTube channel, it's a great channel. Go subscribe, because that guy will actually give you the truth with no fluff or anything, and he's going to tell you what it is. He's going to tell you exactly what's happening. If you have an actual truther mainstream media network, boom, the whole world is going to be completely shifted. Everybody's going to start thinking differently. Nobody is going to be against anything that is for the positivity and direct benefit of humanity. And we're all going to start winning. We're going to start winning. Everybody's going to be happier. There's going to be more prosperity. Abundance is going to be evident and in flow and existing. It's just poverty will start to disappear. People will be able to start businesses and live life the way they want to. Instead of all this silly bullshit and us having to wake up and look at a pedophile's place in the government, in the White House with his son on coke, hiding stuff on his laptop. It's like we deserve like positivity and unity and oneness and world peace, especially. Instead of these crazy lunatics starting wars. So one other thing that happened this month was that President Trump announced that he is going to acquire Greenland. This was a shocker, even to me. So when I see world leaders say that, this part of the world should be ours, so we're gonna, go ahead and acquire it. Yellow flag indicates that there's something happening in that part of the world that is not good. That's not good for anybody. Not for the definition or prosperity or evolution or progression of humanity. Just like what happened in Ukraine. If you know what's happening in Ukraine, there's a lot of sex slave dungeons and biolabs and facilities that shouldn't ever exist anywhere on any planet deep in Ukraine that has like ancient evil lurking there in those basement labs, whatever the hell they're doing. Donald Trump Jr. flew to Greenland and landed there and met with Greenland people and was, well received. And because the Greenland people were well informed who Donald Trump Jr. is, that, President Trump was looking to acquire Greenland. And because they're so well received and it was publicized and there's stories on it, and people were, camera happy and meeting and greeting the president's son, it just goes to show how miskept and unmanaged and mistreated the Greenland people are, by their parent country, Denmark, who claims to own Greenland. So it's not something that seems to be, all sunshine and roses from the outside. There's something going on. The Greenland people don't like Denmark, and they don't seem to like Denmark. If they're meeting, a president, a world leader's son with, such enthusiasm, there's something going on there. Probably something that's has some type of nefarious dealings to where Denmark is doing something against the laws of humanity, and the Greenland people have been sniffing it out and understanding and knowing that their government is sketchy and dark. So they want out. They want out, and they want they want another country to actually not do weird things on their home soil. It's not something that's hard to ask. It's not some type of outlandish thing for people not to want that. Okay, so more things that have happened since after the inauguration. Just today, RFK Jr. has been confirmed as the next department head for public health, the next secretary for public health, for human health services. So that's huge. RFK stands for a lot of things. Stands for, getting carcinogens out of foods. Mainly, he's going to remove fluoride out of the water, which is huge. He's going to make sure that the vaccine companies play ball. He's going to have those companies regulated, actually. He's the guy to do that. He was, so he was confirmed today for those things. And in this hearing, he's going back and forth with obvious people who've been paid, who are trying to stand there and block something like this amazing from happening. And while they are accusing this guy of being Donald Trump's blind follower or something, or blind associate or blind supporter or slave or something, he is literally just hitting them in the face with obvious and logical responses, including Senator Bernie Sanders. Mainly it was Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, and some other Congress speaker person just saying things that were obvious that she was trying to block any involvement or any change into the pharmaceutical company's policies, like she wasn't doing it, but she was doing it, and it was very clear. So that was something that happened. Another thing that happened was one of my predictions that came true. It's continuing to develop. Trump said he's starting to look into abolishing the IRS and removing income tax from the United States because it's highly illegal. It's very illegal to have income tax. It's not something that was a necessary thing before 1913, before all this weird shenanigans and these black magic banks started working together and doing very nefarious things with human energy. It's not good. It's really not good. So he started speaking on before then, and how America was actually very prosperous, and how the country used to be able to have resources and have things to develop and grow without having to tax its citizens for every single little thing with money that had already been taxed in the first place. So that was pretty large. That was a pretty large happening, which was cool to look at. And another thing that just happened literally today. Today's, the 29th. Doge uncovered something very, grotesque. They found, it's obvious the Biden administration was funding Gaza. They were funding Hamas. They're funding the entire war. They started the entire war for profit, to traffic kids, to ethnic cleanse, to create more Satanism and death for their death cult, for all those things. So Doge, the Department of Government Efficiency, they were going into, what is the government spending on? They found $50 million allocated to Gaza for condoms. So that's, very, very gross, grotesque, terrible. And what Trump says is that, they're using condoms for bombs, just to, throw people off. But it's obvious they're using it for some sick stuff. So it's just like, these types of things. I say these things because people need to hear them. People need to understand that the world is a very dark, sick place in a lot of regions. And things that are happening, they're happening for the better of humanity. So when you have a department like Doge, just like how I said in part one of the video, things are going to start happening just way quicker. You're going to see everything that's happening in real time. Doge is going to literally say, then this happened. Then we found this. Then we found this. Then this happened. Then we're now doing this. And this is going to replace this. And then this is how we can reduce spending and get more efficiency here. So it's like going to be a lot quicker and a lot higher streamlined. And there's going to be more painful things that come up like this. So this is just the beginning. However, it's going to get better. It's going to get a lot better. So good thing that happened is that Trump actually signed the executive order to declassify the official files for the MLK assassination, RFK Sr. assassination, and JFK assassination, which is huge, primarily because all those things are done by the CIA. Everybody knows it. Every single person who knows anything knows that. Anything about the country. Okay? So when he did that, that was like a groundbreaking thing that no other United States president has ever done before, because the people who were involved in those events were still living and were still in place in government, and still have people who were under them who are still in government. So it was like a huge conflict of safety, number one. Number two, unfortunately for past presidents, it was a conflict of interest, because if presidents were to speak about those things, they wouldn't be able to do what they would want to do, because almost all the presidents after Kennedy have been corrupt, besides, maybe with the exception of like Ronald Reagan. That's about it. And I think Jimmy Carter, that was and Jimmy Carter. So President Trump has no interest. He has no personal interest. He doesn't get paid for the presidency. He was actually taking a loss for his first term. He lost like a couple $1 billion. This time, he's just a public servant. He's just a person who's there for the betterment of the world and for the betterment of people. So, if you take a look at what he's done his first term, he's only helped and he's only done positive things. And if you have not seen what he's done, then it's very easy for you to be brainwashed and to think he's some type of terrorist or some type of racist or some type of criminal, convicted felon, all these things which have never happened. Has never happened before. There's no proof of it. He hasn't worked with anybody from Russia as far as collusion. Like, this is the 1960s. Like, Russia is still some type of communist country. Like, none of this has happened. Hasn't even been close to happening. He's not a Satanist. He's not a pedophile. He's not a warmonger. He's not a negative person. He's not any of those things. If you just take a look at his actions, just look at his actions. Just look at the list of what he got done in his first year president, second year president, third and fourth. And then you take a look at what Biden did. It's a completely different world. Completely different world. Okay, so after he signed the MLK disclosure for those files to be released, he gave the pen to who? RFK Jr. Because his dad was killed by the CIA. So it's very appropriate. It's an honorable thing to do. He's just an honorable person. So one other thing. So I was just taking a look at how people have been responding and reacting to these immigration police going into all the major cities around the United States this week and rounding up, immigrants and bringing them back to the border. And it's like jarring for some, yet it's something that like happens because it had to happen. And maybe they can eventually come back with like a legality if the borders are ever opened again for a positive program where the program doesn't involve immigrants being flooded in for the minority of those immigrants to be taken advantage of, to be paid, to be told to do anything, to start fires, to start driving cars in public places in crowds and doing things that are just malicious and negative to amp up the fear and to feed the Satanist agenda. Maybe illegal immigrants can come back. Maybe they can. I hope that they do. Yet I'm not somebody who's for a deportation just because, we're going to have to pay for them. Like, nobody has to pay for anybody. I'm not anywhere near close to that type of methodology. That just doesn't make sense to me, really, because the financial system is unlimited. They choose to print funds. And when they print the funds, they get to decide what to do with them. If they aren't wasting them irresponsibly, then you can have enough funds for anything that we would ever need, including the housing and care and hospitality for people who are immigrating into the country. So I do truly feel that immigration will be opened again sometime in the future, and I will hold space for that. I'll hold space for that from my heart to happen, hopefully sometime within the next couple of years. Hopefully that happens. So peace and love. If you guys would like a session, I do sessions at quantumlight.org. I do intuitive coaching, numerology readings, custom art. I have a t-shirt line, empathleague.com. Check it out. I also have organite devices on there to help you protect your home. And one more thing, always understand that there's a higher purpose at play here. When you see major events like this happen, it's leading up to something big. It's leading literally up to our transcending into the golden age of Aquarius. Like we're moving into the golden age of the galactic year. That's what happened when 2012 was brought in. Literally like 13 years ago. That's what we've been leading up to. That's what lightworkers have been channeling for over 30 years. That's what's going to continue to happen. And to have people show up and say, okay, it's the golden age. Let's get these Satanists out of here. It's what's happening. People have been waiting for this. It's huge. So I just feel like I'm very hyped and I'm very pumped up and ready to share with you guys current events of what's always been taking place. And I'd like to have the breakdown, bring you guys with me. And also, if you have any thoughts, also drop them in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts on specific things, and we can start a dialogue. Yet always, understand that things happen, and when you take a look at why they're happening, and you stay in a place of love and understanding after you're finished processing them, it's easier to have the entire scope for you to see the entire world from within your own inner space. So keep that in mind, stay in your heart, and take care. I love you. Talk to you soon. All right. Yeah, that's it. Also, when you're taking a look at what happens in the world, make sure you are listening to your heart and you're filtering everything that happens, with your heart. You're just looking and you're like, I know there's multiple events happening here and there's multiple levels of operation, and I'm just seeing the outside story, but what's actually happening on the layers behind? Like, who was involved, who was in charge, and what put this event into play? And then you let your heart figure the rest out of where the pieces fall into play and what actually happened when you're looking at news stories that seem to make no sense. All right, so I just want to throw that last piece of information in. Also, that I love you, and I will talk to you soon.